What's up guys, it's Nicole, also known as Nikki Vegan, and welcome to another What I Ate Today video. I make these videos to hopefully give you some good ideas on how you can eat more healthy plant-based foods at home. All the food I ate on this day was really fast and easy. 2 of the meals only took 10 minutes, but everything was super flavorful and felt kind of indulgent and cozy. This was a day off, so I didn't want to spend my whole day in the kitchen, but I did want to eat really well. So that was accomplished on this day, and I hope this video gives you some good ideas, and let's get started. So as always, I started with some water. Here I have a big glass of water that I just kind of sipped on throughout the morning. This was like my first hour of being awake. I just sipped on it. I was like doing things around the house, putting dishes away, scrolling through Instagram. And then once I was finished with that, I made some coffee in my new fall cup, which I was very good and waited until it was officially September to use, but I can't wait anymore. I'm too excited for fall. So I made myself some coffee with some almond milk, and I wasn't quite ready for breakfast at this point. It was a weekend. I wanted to have some cozy morning time. So I took it back into bed and caught up on some reading. This is one of the books I'm loving right now. This is by Lauren Graham, and all of you Gilmore Girl fans will know exactly who she is. And one thing I love about this book is there's a part in it where she kind of goes through the entire season of Gilmore Girls, like all 7 seasons, and she gives little like backstories on like why her hair looked the way it did, or you know, who that person in the background was. And for a true Gilmore Girl fan like myself, it is absolute heaven. So I'm loving that. And after about 20-30 minutes of that, I got hungry, so I had some leftover oatmeal from the day before. And sometimes I do that, like if I just make too much, I'll just save it, and that way I don't really have to make breakfast the next day. But I wanted to add a lot of flavor and a nice fruit topping on top. So all I did on this day was I warmed up the oatmeal I already made, and then in a pan I took some frozen blueberries and frozen raspberries with half of an orange, and I squeezed the orange all over the top, and then I just kind of warm it up on the stove for like 3 or 4 minutes on medium-high heat. And what this does is absolute magic, you guys, because the berries are going to release their juices, and combined with that orange flavor, it is just so flavorful. It almost is kind of like a pie topping on top of your oatmeal. Plus you're getting all those beautiful antioxidants and vitamins from the fruit. So I like to just serve this up. I put my warmed oatmeal in there that has some apples and raisins and cinnamon, and then I put this beautiful blueberry, raspberry topping on top, and then I spooned over some unsweetened vegan yogurt and a drizzle of almond butter. This was absolute heaven. It took a while for it to cool down, which was annoying. Side note, yes, drizzling almond butter on top like that makes it look pretty, but it's also functional because it makes sure that you get a little bit of almond butter in each bite. And if you ask me, that's the best part of having a bowl of oatmeal. So that's a little tip from me to you. Do a little drizzling. Okay, so it is lunchtime right now, and I'm not quite hungry yet, but I'm like getting there, and I know I have some veggies that I need to use up, some like salad veggies, so I'm gonna go ahead and make something with that. But I also really feel like baking, just because like I don't usually have time to do that kind of thing, and I kind of just want to have a cozy afternoon where I go in the kitchen and I make something and it makes the house smell good. I don't know, that just sounds very appealing to me, so I'm gonna go find a recipe and I'll show you what I come up with. So I found this vegan cornbread recipe in a cookbook that my friend Kayla sent to me a couple years ago, and it was actually such a sweet surprise because it wasn't my birthday, it wasn't a special occasion. She just saw the book and thought of me and popped it in the mail, and that's like the 2nd or 3rd time in my life that I've just unexpectedly gotten a book from a friend, and I have to say it's such a nice surprise. You're not expecting it, and then you get this awesome gift, and it just makes you feel like someone was thinking about you. And it's obviously a cookbook, so it has lots of different, recipes. It's kind of like the gift that keeps on giving. So every time I use it, I think of Kayla, and I've been meaning to kind of repeat this favor for someone else and just brighten their day in that way. So this was a little note to self for myself, and I thought I would share it with you guys in case you guys want to do something similar. But this cornbread recipe is awesome because it's oil-free, and you start with a base of the dry ingredients, which is cornmeal and spelt flour. You can use whole wheat flour. I think that's what the recipe actually called for. And then you're going to flavor it with some salt. You're going to add some baking powder and some chili flakes, and then the wet ingredients are just almond milk and agave and then a little bit of corn. Now I will put the actual recipe in the description box below if you want to make this recipe at home. I'm also going to put a modified version that I've come up with because since filming this video, I've actually made this cornbread a couple more times and I've just changed it slightly because that's what I like to do. I like to make other people's recipes and then figure out what I like about it, what I don't like about it, and then kind of customize it. And I encourage you guys to do the same thing at home. So I will put both versions for you to try in the description box below. But then I just put that in the oven and it was such a cozy thing to have baking. It was a weekend afternoon and I actually had some time to myself for the first time all week. So I lit a candle and while I was baking, I was kind of cleaning a little bit and I was listening to a couple of Gloria Steinem interviews because I'm also reading a book by her right now. And this one was a really interesting one, as well as an interview with her and Emma Watson, which I'll put in the description box below too, because both of them were really interesting. And all together, this whole vibe of an afternoon of like listening to these videos and having the candle burning and something baking and just a little bit of time to myself was very relaxing and cathartic. So I recommend kind of creating a little oasis in your apartment or kitchen or house or wherever you dwell, because it's good for the soul as much as it's, yummy to have baked goods around. It's different than I thought. It's a little bit spicy from the red pepper flakes. Like every once in a while you get a little hint of spiciness. What am I doing? But it's a little bit spicy. And then ever so slightly sweet from the corn. It's like a little burst of sweetness. It's way more like a bread than like a cornbread. Normally cornbread to me is like almost like cake, right? Like it's like sweet and it's moist and it's like a corn muffin or a corn cake. This is a little bit more like bread, and that's probably because of the flours. But it's good. It's just not what I was expecting. I should probably go get the rest of my salad, otherwise I'm just going to eat all this bread. Okay. While the cornbread was in the oven, I went ahead and made a salad to go along with it. And this is kind of a like Caprese salad, but with more veggies involved, because tomatoes right now are at the peak of their season. I feel like August, September, they're just great, great, great tomatoes. And these are these really cool orange cherry tomatoes that are so sweet. So I wanted to utilize them since they are like the star of the show. So what I did was I just took a couple of handfuls of romaine lettuce, a big handful of these cherry tomatoes, and some fresh basil, which is kind of playing up that Caprese salad vibe. And then I just put on some Dijon mustard, a splash of apple cider vinegar, a tiny little bit of agave, I'd say like a quarter of a teaspoon. That's just gonna take the edge off of the apple cider vinegar. It's not going to make it sweet. And then I had some hummus to use up, so I would ordinarily put in like a tablespoon or so of tahini, but on this day I had hummus, so I used that and it made this nice creamy kind of vinegary, mustardy, just delicious salad dressing. I love a creamy dressing as a base. And then I put on some hemp seeds and a drizzle of balsamic glaze. This was really key and like the thing that made this salad next level, because with the tomatoes and the basil, it was just perfect. And at this point, my cornbread was done. I let it cool for a little bit, which was hard, but it gave me an opportunity to take pictures, so that was fun. And then when it was finally ready, I put 2 slices on my plate. I might have had like 3 slices altogether because, I had to test it. It was very scientific and, these things have to be done when baking. So I did that, and this was a really, really delicious lunch and also a very nice way to spend my afternoon. Okay, so for my snack today, I'm having a green pear that I've cut up, and then I also have some dried apricots just because they sounded really good, and a date. And I'm just gonna put a little bit of cinnamon on the pear, and I'm gonna put a little bit of sunflower butter on top. It kind of just makes everything taste like trail mix actually, but it's really delicious. I love it. Just gonna do a little dip, a little swirl. Then I'm also making this tea. This is like fall in a cup. Delightful. You guys, dinner on this day was so next level. I felt like it was like a beautiful restaurant type of dinner, but it was so easy. It literally only took 10 minutes because all I really had to do was reheat a bunch of stuff. Because a couple days before, I had made a Minimalist Baker's chickpea quinoa burgers. I will put her recipe in the description box below, but I kind of modified it a little bit, so I'll also put my version. My version has a lot less oil, so I will show you a couple tricks that I used to make these lower oil. So for example, she recipe tells you to roast the chickpeas first and use a bit of oil, some salt, and some curry powder. Instead of using oil, I used tamari, which helped kind of make all the curry powder stick, but it also added salt, so it's kind of like a 2-in-1 oil replacer for whenever you're baking or roasting veggies. And while those were in the oven, I also cooked some potatoes. You need 1.5 cups of cooked potatoes and some quinoa. So all this happens at the same time, and it takes about 20 minutes to prep. Super, super easy. And I always recommend making extra potatoes and extra quinoa whenever you're making things like that, and that way you can have them on hand to use throughout the week. While all those things were going, I just threw some cashews, a serrano pepper, some ginger, and some garlic into a blender or a food processor, and you just want to pulse that, not until it's smooth, but until it's really finely chopped, and that's going to go into the veggie burgers and add a ton of flavor. Then I just took a little bit more curry powder, and in the recipe she instructs you to use oil, but I decided to, again, do a little trick and just use some water. You can also use the cooking liquid that the potatoes cooked in because they're going to be nice and starchy, but regular water is fine too. And then you just do salt and curry powder and you mash this into a mashed potato, and this is going to help bind the burgers together and make them kind of stick together and not be crumbly. Then I added the cashew, ginger, garlic mixture, some quinoa, and the roasted chickpeas, and it all just goes into one bowl. You mash it together, or you can do it in a food processor if that's easier for you, and you just mix it until it is a nice thick consistency. And then I flavored this with about 2 tablespoons of tomato paste, which adds a really nice depth of flavor and works really well with the spices that we added. And this is a really cool technique because what I learned here was an awesome technique for making a really delicious crispy veggie burger, but you can change up the spices however you like. So you could do like Italian or, Chipotle, or you could do like Greek seasoning and get a really totally different burger, but a really similar effect in terms of the texture. And then the only oil you need for this recipe is a bit of coconut oil drizzled over the top. This works really well flavor-wise, and it also helps crisp up the top, and you just need a little bit kind of sprinkled on like that to get them really nice and crispy in the oven. I got 11 burgers altogether. So all week long I had these for, sandwiches, for burgers, also for salads. I like to cut them up and almost have them as like croutons in a salad. That's really good. Or, you can just snack on them like fritters. These are really great to have on hand. And especially for, a day like today, when I was making dinner came together in just literally 10 minutes because all I did was I roasted some fresh veggies. I had some zucchini and mushrooms I wanted to utilize. And that's the only cooking I really did. Everything else was heating up. So I just did a little bit of cumin and some tamari, and I roasted that in the oven. And while that was roasting, I also reheated 2 of the veggie patties and some of the quinoa that I made. And then it was the fun part. It was time to make some sauces. I went ahead and took a little help from the grocery store and used a store-bought mango chutney, and I just thinned that out with a little bit of water. And you can either just whisk this or just kind of shake it up like I did. And this makes it more of a dressing, which I think is so good, especially with the curry flavors that are in the chickpea burgers. I did the same thing with a yogurt. I just took some unsweetened vegan yogurt. This one is by Kite Hill. It's the plain unsweetened. I used some lime juice and some cilantro, salt and pepper, and then I just shook that up and it makes it kind of a yogurt sauce. Again, works so well with the curry flavor. Then it's time to assemble, and I'm just going to put the reheated quinoa down and then the roasted veggies on top of that, which turned so nice and golden brown in the oven, even without oil. And then I put on the warm chickpea burgers and some cilantro, a little bit of red onion. If you have pickled red onion, which I have a recipe for that I'll put in the description box below, that goes really, really, really well with this too. And then I just drizzled over my sauces. I've got a little bit of that sweet and spicy mango chutney sauce with the creamy and kind of refreshing yogurt sauce. And then I also did a drizzle of tahini just because I love the flavor, I love the texture, and tahini has a bit of calcium, a bit of iron, some healthy fats. So I added that on top, and then I also used up a couple more of those beautiful tomatoes that I had left over just because, well, first of all, they're delicious, and second of all, they added a really nice pop of color, and it took 2 seconds. So I added those on there, and you guys, this flavor combination was so good. And as you can see, it was mostly just reheating, but it looks fancy and it felt fancy, and I loved it. I hope hope that you enjoyed this What I Ate Today video. I made this video and I make these types of videos because it's really important to me to be able to show you guys that eating healthy and eating more plants and just treating yourself and making yourself feel good really doesn't have to be a chore that's time consuming or fancy. Everything I ate today felt very fancy and felt very like indulgent and extra flavorful and delicious because I kind of wanted to treat myself today on a day off. But my breakfast and my dinner only took about 10 minutes from start to finish, and a lot of that had to do with just being prepared. You know, I had berries in the freezer and I had meal prepped those burgers on one day, and I've had them for many days throughout the week, and it just makes making really easy meals fast and easy. And I think, you know, I've prioritized in my life like wanting to feel good, wanting to eat really well at the same time, and not wanting to spend a lot of time doing it. And so I really hope that these videos show you that that is completely possible, and you really can punctuate your day with these little moments of deliciousness and nourishment and just enjoyment. Like today was a day off where I felt like I really treated myself, and you know, everything I ate was kind of extra cozy and special, but I kind of eat like this all the time, even on a busy day, because with just a little bit of preparation and intention, you can eat like this and feel really good all the time. So hopefully you guys will take some little bits and pieces from what you saw in this video and incorporate it into your own life, and again, kind of punctuate your day, whether it's a busy day or whether it's a weekend day like this where you're just cozy and relaxing, or you can really just sort of inject that day with a little moment of deliciousness that makes you feel good, you know, on a health level and on a soul level. So thank you guys so much for watching. I love you. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you in a video very soon. Bye.